humanist perspective presented by the New Orleans Secular Humanist Association, following our few principles of humanism.
We're committed to the use of science and reason for understanding the universe and for solving human problems. We're skeptical of untested claim knowledge, but we're open to new ideas.
We are concerned with securing justice and fairness in society and in ending intolerance and discrimination. We are committed to the total separation of religion and government.
We affirm humanism as a realistic alternative to the theologies of despair and the ideologies of violence. We reject the concept of an afterlife and believe in living a full and rewarding life here and now.
We value and respect each individual's right to judge and lead their lives according to their own position, as long as it's respectful of other people, living in a free society.
We hope you enjoy today's program and others in the weeks to follow. Thanks for being with us again. I'm Harry Greenberger, the host of this show, and I think we've got something interesting and perhaps unusual for you today. And my guest is Niki Papazoglakis. Is that close enough?
Close enough.
All right. From here on out, it's Niki.
Great.
All right. Well, she is the founder and president of Freagle. Tell us what Freagle is.
Freagle is a startup company building a virtual town square. And if you think about in your virtual world, you may not use some of the tools, but people that are active online, Facebook is kind of like your living room for friends and family. Mm-hmm. LinkedIn is sort of for the office, your professional life. And Twitter is sort of the local pub. Anything goes, anything can be discussed. So Freagle is a dedicated place for political and civic discourse and engagement.
Now let me say this, our organization is 501c3, so we are not political. Mm-hmm. We list ourselves as an educational organization. So we don't endorse candidates, but we take position on issues. Mm-hmm. So aside from encouraging us to endorse a candidate, we can support whatever it is you're going to tell us about Freagle.
Yes, and Freagle is nonpartisan. So the concept really came about, I've got a background in international trade and finance as my undergraduate degree, and then my master's is public administration. Mm-hmm. Most of my career, I've worked in and with the government as a lobbyist, as I spent several years as an advocate for a nonprofit, and I also spent a good portion of my professional career selling technology to government agencies. So as a government contractor, so I've had a pretty diverse perspective on government and politics.
And so that's really your emphasis is government and politics and politicians, I guess.
Yeah. Well, and I actually got to the point a few years ago that I got so frustrated with everything that I saw with our broken political system that I ended up running for office. And when you see things as a candidate, you see the political system in a way that is, politically involved and active as someone could be. They could work campaigns, anything else. Until you're the actual candidate, there are just certain elements of the system that you won't understand.
When you say our broken political system, explain that.
I don't think there's any argument, regardless of what your political beliefs might be or your ideology, that political outcomes in the country are deteriorating. And you can just look at the statistics, pick an issue, and they're not good at a federal, a state, and very often at a local level as well. And understanding from a practical perspective as well as from an academic perspective, I kind of looked at the problem and said, what is the root of the dysfunction? I got into advocacy work and started peeling back the onion, and I ultimately got to the conclusion that the problems that we have in society are a result of poor policy choices.
A result of what?
Poor policy choices. And poor
By whom?
Well, poor policy choices are the result of their choices made by politicians.
All right.
And
elected or non-elected. I mean, whether they're in office or not, is that what you're saying?
Well, ultimately, the votes for legislation for implementing policy are
The
elected
people who are
officials
elected,
and then the
okay.
administrators charged with carrying out those laws. But the problem is what influences those decisions. And when you think about the United States, we were formed as a representative democracy where we were supposed to have elected officials that have constituency. They gauge what those constituent interests are, and then they represent those in the forms of legislation and voting behaviors.
And they were supposed to be like part-time representatives. This was not supposed to be a full-time job that you spent your time in Washington. These, the original concept was that these were just representatives of their
community,
and spend a few, a few weeks maybe, and go back home to do their job. Mm-hmm. That has certainly changed.
That has certainly changed, and I think that, and I have a lot of friends that are politicians, that are lobbyists, that are in the media, that are, and so I know these people personally, and so it's easy to point the finger and say, politicians are corrupt, or lobbyists and special interests control government, or the media is biased, or voters are lazy and apathetic. And
now, everything you just said, are you saying that each of those complaints is valid?
I happen to be probably more of an optimist. I think that there is some truth to all of those statements, but I don't think that they are absolute truths. I believe most of us you have bad apples everywhere in any group, but I believe that most of us are doing the best to perform our function as a political actor to the best of our ability within a broken system. And the reason the system is broken is, just take the federal. You have 535 people that represent the interests of 315 million.
Yes.
Forget the Senate side, because that's based on state population, and those numbers are even more exaggerated than representative. But look at your average U.S. congressperson. The average district that they represent is roughly 700,000 people. It is not feasible for them to actually, with today's tools, that exist, to actually gauge what their constituents want. It's no wonder that many constituents, and you can see this at the polls and other things, is that people have become disengaged and they have become apathetic because they say, you know what, my one voice, my one vote doesn't matter. And so the sheer ratio of representatives to constituents, not only has it created a challenge where it costs a ton of money to get your message to all of those people, but it's really almost impossible to understand what those people want. And that's the root of the problem of why money has taken on such a powerful role in the political system.
All right.
And
you clearly described a problem.
yes.
Do you offer a potential solution?
Absolutely, and that is what Freagle is.
Okay.
A lot of people use today, there was a study at the end of 2012 by the Pew Center that said 39% of American adults have used social media for political activity. That hasn't translated into much change in the political landscape. And the reason for that is the tools that are being used weren't designed for political engagement. They were designed for interpersonal communications, but they're the only mechanism by which people have the ability to give a voice. We're not in, an omni or single directional media landscape anymore. They're just effective. So what Freagle does is design from the ground up for political engagement. So there's a few things that we do. The front end is a social network. And so when you register for Freagle, you get automatically connected to all of your federal, state, and local elected officials.
Let me stop you there.
Okay.
What does a person do who wants to become a part of Freagle?
So,
how do you do that?
Well, once we launch, you'll be able to go onto our website and register just like you would for an online banking system.
All right. Is there a cost for that?
Not for the general public.
Okay.
There is a cost for the premium subscribers, so your politicians and your lobbyists and media. Those folks would pay. But for the general public, no, there is no
And you
charge.
say that happens when you go online, which is anticipated to be when?
We don't have a launch date just yet. We're still in development.
All right.
So-
But is it in the coming months or longer than that?
It'll very likely be in 2015. We just did a crowdfunding campaign where we were able to raise some capital, not enough to get to full product launch, so we are still in the process of raising capital. And so the launch and the product development will very much depend on our ability to raise the funds necessary to complete the product.
Okay. Now, continue with what other activities Freagle will be involved in.
So there's no anonymity. And what it's really designed to do is use technology to emulate the model that the forefathers envisioned at a time when you had small communities and a representative in a town hall meeting, and people could share their concerns, and then those representatives went and represented them at either a state or a federal government level. So we don't allow any anonymity. So as Harry Greenberger, you would register as Harry Greenberger. We would verify that you are in fact who you say you are, and then connect you to your elected officials. The politicians that we've done all of our market research with have unanimously said that they would use it because it eliminates the ability for trolls to come in and sabotage the conversation, or for activist groups from Timbuktu to call in and flood their phone lines when they're not even their constituents. So it verifies who their constituents are, and for the constituent, most of us don't know who all of our elected officials are, much less how to communicate with them.
All right, but now if the individual has some comment that they're sending to their politician, is that just between the two of them, or can everybody on Freagle see what you said?
It depends on how you use it. Similar to Facebook, if you post it on your wall or that politician's wall, it becomes a public comment. If it is done through the direct message feature, then it would be a private message.
Okay, so it's your option.
Right. But one of the things that's different about Freagle versus what else is out there is that we actually have a variety of tools to aggregate constituent sentiment, because it's not designed to be a tool to just add a whole lot of volume to the communications that politicians are already receiving. It's to aggregate and simplify that. So, for example, because every elected official would be automatically connected to every registered Freagle user in their district. If there was, say, a controversial piece of legislation coming for a vote or going before a committee, or just something that they're thinking of maybe even proposing a bill on, they could send out an instant poll that would show up on your mobile phone as a mobile app alert that says, you know, Senator David Vitter asked your opinion on, you know, do you support this bill, yes or no? Learn more here. Now, there's also an anonymous feature where if I want to respond to something, but I don't want them to know that it was me, that, you know, I use marijuana because that's the easy one. Overwhelmingly, the polls show that the majority of Americans support legalization of marijuana.
All right.
Now, I might support it, and I might not be a pot smoker, but I don't want to check yes and then worry about the cops coming to my house because it's illegal now, or any other type, you know, thing like that. So I can check, yes, I support it, but click the respond anonymously box. Senator Vitter would get a report showing an aggregate view of all of his constituents. It would also give him my demographic information. So although it wouldn't show my name, he would be able to see the breakdown of age, gender, race, party, you know, affiliation, etc.
Now, when you say that this will enable the politicians elected or running for office to learn more about what the constituents want, however, as I see it, the lobbyists with tons of money get what they want, not what the constituents want. How do you overcome that?
Well, one of the goals with Freagle is that by creating a new mechanism for constituents to get engaged and for politicians to be connected, it's much less expensive to purchase a Freagle subscription and be able to directly communicate with the masses than it is to go raise tons of money in order to pay for, very expensive TV commercials, radio commercials, and all. So what we want to do is bring down the cost of getting elected by bringing down the cost of raising awareness so that you could have a lesser funded candidate who's based on substance. One of the features is an election center, so you can do candidate comparison. So I'll see that I have an election coming up on, say, November 4th. I can click on my ballot and see personally, based on my address, which races are up for on that ballot. Mm-hmm. I can then go and do a side-by-side comparison of every candidate, either a comprehensive comparison. I might be a single issue voter. Mm-hmm. There's some people that, healthcare might be their only thing. Well, I can do a side-by-side comparison simply on the issue that I care about.
Yes.
It also allows you to sort of customize your preferences, almost like online dating for politics. The more that I customize, I might not care about local level issues. I don't have children, so schools wouldn't be something that I really want because that's noise to me. And that's part of the reason people have disengaged, just there's so much noise in the political atmosphere that things that we don't all care about. I'd like the environment to be...
All right.
Oh, go ahead.
But now, these people who then are part of Freagle and express their views, and the candidate can see how many people like what, are they all going to go out and vote, or are they just enjoying expressing their opinion and don't bother to go out on election day?
You know what I believe and what I hope. I don't think that in the first year, or maybe even the first 2 or 3 years of Freagle being around, that it is going to drive some, significantly higher numbers of people to the polls. That is a cultural thing that has got to take some time to overcome. But what I do think is that by having people having the ability to see on a regular basis their impact and involvement in the political process, that if they respond to opinion polls and their legislators vote with the majority of their constituents, once they start to see that their engagement does have an impact on the decisions and the policy choices that are made, then it will start to become more ingrained that we are a representative democracy. And the people are a very important part of that equation.
Should be.
Absolutely. And so I do hope that, by being able to be engaged and physically, tangibly see something and take action on your phone, on your PC, on a regular basis, that will become more ingrained, and over time, people will start to go back to the polls, and we will have a higher voter turnout.
Are the people who you anticipate participating in Freagle, isn't it possible that these are going to be maybe the better educated, more intellectual people, and the low income people who spend all of their time just getting by? Are they unlikely to become a part of Freagle?
I don't expect that they would be part of our early adopter profile, but I do hope that as the platform evolves, that they would start to become more active. Part of that happens through the education process. If we can start to get teachers actively involved and starting to use it and demonstrating to students how they can have an impact in a role in the political process.
Is that one of your objectives, to get the teachers involved and promoting the concept?
We would like the academic, yeah, absolutely. And I think that, that's an important part of any kind of social change.
All right. Well, we still have a little time. What else should we know about Freagle?
Well, we are in the process of raising capital, and we have raised some initial funds to build our product demo, raised some additional funds through crowdfunding to continue product development. So if there are any of your viewers that are interested from an investor perspective, I would encourage them to please reach out to me. The contact information is on the website, which is freagle.com, freagle.com.
All right. No, you said investment, but they don't do this for a financial return. They're just or do they?
Yes, we are a for-profit company.
I see. I didn't know that.
We initially started as a 501. I looked to do it as a charity organization, but there were some tax problems with doing that because as a 501c4, we personally, and we as an organization, don't advocate, but we are a platform for advocacy. And my concern was that as a 501c4, if we were really successful in changing the political landscape, then we could be viewed as an advocacy organization. Mm-hmm. If we were a 501c3, we're prohibited from doing that. But 501c4s are not eligible for any federal or nonprofit grants. So we're in this conundrum of not being able to, from a tax perspective, to actually be structured as a nonprofit.
So you are a potentially profit-making taxable organization.
Absolutely.
Well, I guess if you make profits, you don't mind paying a little tax.
Exactly. And you know what? Having a background in economics, and I am a social entrepreneur, and I do believe that there is a very big problem in our society. Freagle has the potential to address that problem, and has the potential, and when there is a big problem, there's the potential to make a lot of money doing it and to be able to drive positive social change during the process.
I should have asked that originally, but the word Freagle, or those letters stand for something? Or
yes.
Where does that, all right, what is that?
Freedom and eagle. And so freedom, obviously, liberty.
Yeah.
The eagle has been a symbol of justice throughout many cultures throughout history. And so liberty and justice, those are principles and promises that our founding fathers built this nation on and promised to us that I believe we're losing because of the dysfunction in our political system.
They promised us life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I don't know what they can do about our life. Some of our liberties have been restricted, and I guess we're all in favor of the pursuit of happiness. The government does not guarantee happiness, just your ability to pursue it.
Correct.
And you would like to encourage the pursuit of happiness.
Correct, absolutely.
By having a better government.
And one of the things that I really think differentiates Freagle from any other organization or company out there trying to solve this problem, because there are other tools for citizen engagement and so forth. I don't know if you know Bob Mann. You mentioned seeing me on Jeff Crouere.
Yeah.
Ideologically, they are polar opposites. They're both on my advisory board. The head of the Louisiana Lobbyist Association is on my advisory board.
Right.
We've got a number of prominent supporters from the business community, from the left and the right, from NGOs and advocacy organizations, and I'm not aware of any other idea, entity, company, group, etc., that has adamant support from such a broad spectrum of political actors.
Well, Jeff Crouere is very conservative. I've been on his show, and he's been on my show, but our philosophies are quite distinct. Mm-hmm. And we're both entitled to our positions. All right, well, we still have a few minutes, Niki. Carry on. Well, let me just ask you then, because you say it's going to take maybe until 2015. What are you doing on a daily basis, just trying to get the funding you need, or?
Fundraising is part of the mission of what we're doing, but we are also working on additional product development. So we have a demo in place, and because we just raised some additional capital, we've started the next phase of development, which is also going on simultaneously with our fundraising efforts.
When you say a demo in place, a demo showing what?
What the product would do. So when showing how you would be connected to your elected representatives, how you would respond to opinion polls, how you would have information available to you. So if you wanted to become informed on an issue, you could go to an issue forum and be able to find out information in different people's perspectives. So,
okay, how do you plan to use this demo?
We used it initially with our crowdfunding campaign to help raise funds so that people could actually see, conceptualize what it is. This is a complicated problem, and the solution itself is multifaceted, and so it's much easier to be able to show people what it is and what it will be able to do than it is to try to talk about it.
All right. Well, you're the president of the organization. Do you have a staff? You have people who working for the organization?
Well, I have partners, and then some of our developers and other consultants have been brought in on an as-needed basis.
But is most of this conceptualization coming from you as an individual?
The ideation portion of it, yes, was mine.
And that's how you spend your time now. Are you employed by Freagle?
Well, it doesn't generate me any revenues, so I do also have a regular job.
Okay. All right. Well, we have like 2 minutes to go, and I want to give you that time to say whatever you want to say to the people who are watching our show.
Great. Well, I really appreciate the opportunity to come on. I hope that people will stay tuned and watch as Freagle grows and progresses. I have considered relocating to San Francisco or New York, where there are tech hubs, and that may be something that ultimately needs to happen in order for me to really be able to achieve the dream and the vision. But we have a big problem in our society, and unless we're going to change our structure of government, I think we need to use technology to fix what's broken.
But as you stand now and you're operating out of Baton Rouge, and you're talking about state, local, and national, but you're not covering other states now, are you? Or are you?
Well, our initial plan would be to roll out in Louisiana first, test the market, get user feedback. You never want to launch a company too big and then...
Yes, well, that's why I was concerned when you said you might move to the West Coast. Would you be abandoning Louisiana?
No, I would probably, but I would have more access to investment and the tech talent necessary to build the company. But
I'm sure.
My goal would still be to roll out in Louisiana.
Thank you so very much. Thank you, folks, for watching our show. We hope you'll do it regularly.